Now, for the remaining part of our lives, what will we expect? And so by the time we get to 2100, what will world population be? It'll be about 10.5 billion in terms of its total. Somewhere maybe as high as 11 billion, probably not that high, but somewhere in the 10 billion range. And that's by 2100. But what's going to definitely occur is you're going to see a slowdown. The growth is going to slow down. So we're still going to grow, it's just we're not growing as fast. And so what's going to happen is about 1% annual growth rate for the next 10, 15 years. We should see that dip below that, almost to the point of being to 0% by the end of the century. So about 0.1% annual growth is to be expected if all things equal. So not saying, if all of a sudden, big disease wipes out a large population or a big nuclear explosion or something like that. Of course, that could, definitely alter all of this. But as far as things are now, that's the projection. What's key to causing this slowdown? One key definitely is lower fertility. So that's something to continue to see all throughout the world. So lower fertility is something you've already seen in a lot of countries. But in a lot of other countries where it's definitely not occurring, you're going to see lower fertility rates start to globalize or start to slow down, at least in high fertility areas. So much that in some countries of the world, you're going to see a decline in population. And this decline, in some places you're going to see declines because everyone's moving out. No one wants to be there. But in the case of a lot of countries, particularly there in Europe, you're going to see countries declining because essentially the death rates are so much higher than the birth rates that you just got more people dying than being born. So just naturally, you're going to see a decline in population. For example, Italy. You're thinking, wait a minute, Italy, they're known for their lovemaking, their romance, their passion. They're actually going to see probably a decline here that they're going to start to feel in the next few years, actually. So other things to expect, with that being said, we're going to definitely be living longer. So lower mortality rates, and so we're going to be able to fight off death. And so I've got a lot of good friends that are in medicine, and they say the next 15 years will blow your mind as far as what's going to happen in the health field. And so we're going to just live longer, fight off things that currently are killing us, and we're going to fight them off. And so it'd be very common for people to live in their 150s, but nothing like we're not going to be vegetables. We're going to live with much more vitality than what we might expect. Further, we're going to definitely see an increasingly aging population. So this is something in parts of the world they're definitely seeing. For example, Japan, a little bit of the United States, throughout Europe, in which we have a lot of old people. What that means is you have a lot of people retired. So what that means is people who are retired are getting money, pensions, and so they're essentially, they're getting checks still, even though they're not working for the work they've done beforehand. But nonetheless, fewer and fewer workers, fewer and fewer young people to support them. That's something you'd expect going forward, but throughout the world. So, so nursing homes, stair lifts, Ponderosa at 4 o'clock, all those things are things that you can expect to be bigger going forward. Further, other things to expect, definitely going to see more migration. It's going to only continue. Now, we might see some conflict, spur up, lessen migration, but it's just only going to increase. So if you don't like, the fact that you have international students in your classrooms, you better get the hell over it very quickly. When we think about other things to expect, definitely going to see more city dwellers. We've already showed that, but just can expect more urbanization, in particular in developing countries. And so all the growth in world population, and we'll see this very, very clearly in this next ranking of world population, we're going to see it's going to be mostly in developing or poorer countries or lower income countries of the world. Other things, you're definitely going to see continued progress as far as literacy, education, but more importantly, gender equality. So as gender equality continues to globalize, continually works its way throughout all parts of the world, that's then going to come in back to that lower fertility rate that I mentioned above. But here's some big picture trends as far as what to expect when we look at 21st century. And so the 15 largest countries in 2010 versus the 15 largest countries in 2015. So a lot of these are various things I already mentioned. A lot of these countries I've already discussed earlier in this chapter in various videos. But definitely what you see there is the change at the top. India will become the world's largest country. And all that's based on these population projections, the demographic transition model, so observing different patterns, demographic indicators, population pyramids. So essentially all the tools that you just have been equipped and just have been immersed in, you're now going to be able to essentially apply those to understand why you're going to see certain parts of the world, certain countries of the world growing much faster, where others are actually going to see declines.